Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Britavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagvad Gite Bhavadveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. So our reading of the 15th Adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Self. And Sri Krishna is now explaining us, he has almost explained to us how this Atman, while departing the physical cage for that matter, determines the next course of the future birth or liberation. How it is determined? That aided by the 6 indriyas for that matter, the 5 sense organs and the mind, how a person is always getting entangled into the activities of experiencing this these worldly enjoyments and getting trapped again and again. But for those whose eye of knowledge has opened, they realize that this fellow who is there dwelling inside, he is experiencing while there or while departing, is experiencing, wants to experience these worldly enjoyments because of the gunas, goaded by the gunas, influenced by the gunas, wants to enjoy these things. And when this realization dawns, for those knowledgeable, they know this truth, that it is the gunas which are goading this, the indweller to get tempted by the worldly allurements, by the worldly temptations. They realize that. But the deluded ones, those on whom the veil of ignorance has very strongly pulled down, those under the influence of that ignorance of the Maya, they don't realize this thing. They don't realize this ultimate truth. And as a result, the Jivatman, poor fellow, has to continue its journey in this, in the form of innumerable births and deaths. So Krishna had told us that Utkramantam sthitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam. Utkramantam va sthitam. Whether departing or whether remaining in this body. Utkramantam sthitam va api. Whether living the body or whether being in the body. Whether living in the body. Bhunjanam va gunanvitam. Bhunjanam is enjoying these worldly experiences, goaded by the gunas, gunanvitam, united with these gunas, under the influence of these 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. This one inside, he is whether living, whether staying inside, whether abiding inside, whether remaining inside this the prison of bone and flesh, the cage of bone and flesh, or whether departing at the time of departing. That indweller is enjoying these worldly pleasures influenced by the gunas. Vimudha nanu paśyanti, those deluded ones, those whose the sense of understanding has totally gone haywire. Those deluded ones, those ignorant ones, they don't see this. Na anupashyanti. The deluded ones don't realize this fact. Paśyanti jnana-chakshusha. But those whose eyes of knowledge have been opened, those who know the trick that the gunas are playing on this creature, on this being, for enjoying the worldly temptations, enjoying the worldly enjoyments. Those knowers, they know what is the real truth behind this so-called enjoyment. It is not an enjoyment at all then. It is just, okay, the self is experiencing the worldly life. For them, that is the experience. But for the deluded ones, the objective is to enjoy the worldly enjoyments. And unfortunately, with the worldly enjoyments, we also land into a deep mess of the miseries and sorrows and pains and unhappiness. So this is the distinction that Sri Krishna has made for the future course of action for this Jivatman after leaving the body, about how the deluded ones, the Jivatman in the deluded body, in the body which is filled with ignorance, which course of action that Jivatman is going to take next. Whereas those who know the tricks played by gunas, they are aware. They are aware, and because of that awareness, because of that knowledge, because of that enlightenment, the indweller inside won't get tempted by the influence of the gunas for the next journey ahead. So this is Sri Krishna had told us in this 10th shloka. Now, how is this eye of wisdom open? How does this jnana-chakshusha that Sri Krishna told us? How to open this eye of knowledge? How to get this enlightenment of what is the real thing, what is the unreal thing? That Sri Krishna is that process of opening of the eye of knowledge, that process of obtaining the eye of wisdom. Sri Krishna is telling us in the 11th shloka. Yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno paśyantyātmanyavasthitam yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno nainaṃ paśyantyacetasaḥ. Yatantaha, striving. Yatantaha is one who is making a yatna, one who is making an effort, one who is striving. Striving for what? Yatantaha yoginaścainaṃ. Yoginaha, the yogis, the seekers of liberation, the yogis, those who are striving. paśyantyātmanyavasthitam. They see. The yogis who are striving for the liberation, who are striving for the ultimate knowledge, only they see that it is the Atman which is dwelling inside. They gain that knowledge. For those people, for those beings, that eye of wisdom, that eye of knowledge opens up. And they know that, oh, it is the Atman which is there inside. It is not the body, is not the real thing for that matter. So that is what happens when the yogis who are striving for the perfection, they realize. And what happens? There is also another kind of striving. There is also another kind of hankering. Yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno. Yatantaha api akrita atmanaha. Those who strive, those unrefined strivers, akrita atmanaha. Akrita is unripe. Those whose those who are still in that struggling in that pitch of darkness, those for whom there is no enlightenment. Akrita atmana, the unripe deluded self for that matter. Those deluded ones, they are also striving, but their striving is not like the striving of the yogis towards perfection, towards liberation. Their striving is for the worldly enjoyments, bhunjanam. Bhunjanam va gunanvitam. Goaded by the gunas, their striving, their hankering is towards these worldly enjoyments. Yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno nainaṃ paśyantyātmanyavasthitam. These unintelligent ones, they don't see the truth behind. They don't see the Atman behind. For them, worldly enjoyment is the only reality. And that's when these deluded ones, these unintelligent ones, they keep on coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. For them, there is no liberation, there is no mukti. And they keep on suffering life after life after life after life. So now Shri Krishna says, what is the difference between those whose eyes are opened, those whose eye of knowledge has opened, and those whose eye of knowledge has not opened? Those whose eye of knowledge has opened, they strive for liberation. They strive for mukti. They strive, those are the yogis who are striving for that ultimate truth. But the unintelligent ones, the deluded ones, they are striving only for the unripe Atman. They are striving only for the worldly enjoyments through the unrefined Atman. They don't know what Atman is. They are absolutely unrefined. There is no hankering after any kind of knowledge, any kind of liberation, any kind of bliss, and in the process, they keep on struggling in this worldly life. Those who strived, endued with yoga, cognize him dwelling in the self. Cognize is this Paramatman in the form of this indweller as the Jivatman. They cognize, they realize, for them that knowledge of I has opened. But the unrefined, those striving, the unrefined, those deluded ones and intelligent ones, they see him not. They don't see that Atman at all. For them, there is nothing like Atmanam. For them, there is only the akrita-atmana. There is only that unrefined. There is no Atma, there is no liberation. For them, they are like those Baddha Jivas that Sri Ramakrishna has spoken about. That they keep on to the fish. In the fisherman's net, there are some fish who don't get caught in the net at all. But there are some Baddha Jivas, the bound souls, like these Sri Krishna is telling about, those who are deluded. They don't even try to open the eye of the wisdom, the eye of knowledge, and putting their heads in the net and further going down deep into the mud. They think everything is fine. Let me enjoy here. Let me enjoy here. And that is what happens with the deluded ones. And Sri Krishna has clearly told the two kind of hankerings, the two types of hankerings, the two types of strivings, the two types of yatantahas. The one towards realizing the soul, the one towards realizing the Jivatman and its unity with the Paramatman, and the other, no Atman at all. Live it. Let me enjoy the world. If not in this life, next life, next life, next life. Let me have all those enjoyments. The act of striving is common both to the yogi as well as the worldly person, non-yogi. Nothing can be achieved without working for it. And both are working their ways. The yogi is also working his way towards the things which yogi is striving, and the non-yogi, the vimudha, is also working towards attaining those things which that vimudha, the non-yogi, the deluded one, is striving for. But the unrefined and unintelligent man labors the wrong way. It is getting trapped into the net again and again and again. No efforts towards liberation at all. He is not well established in self-control. Pride and conceit alienate him from the others. All those fetters, 6 fetters that Sri Ramakrishna always talks about. These fetters, they bind that person deeply with the worldly attachments. Pride and conceit alienate him from the others, and such a man, though endeavoring in the spiritual line all through life, does not develop the eye of wisdom. And once that pride and egotism and arrogance catches hold of him, catches hold of that person, there is no liberation for that person. Although he may have, she may have, performed the spiritual practices to some extent, but no, that is not the end. That is not the real striving. The ego, the me and mine, the worldly attachments, they tempt such deluded persons to such an extent that although they have walked the spiritual path to some extent, there is no progress for them. But the yogi, the spiritual aspirant, is engaged in all humility in the welfare of all. Every act of the yogi, every act of the spiritual aspirant, every act of that being, that person who is headed towards liberation, is in service for others. Like Shiva Bhave Jiva Seva, that is what the motto of the Ramakrishna order. Atmano mokshartha jagat hitaya cha. Serving, serving, serving. Any activity that person does is as a service to others, as a service to family members, as a service to the social acquaintances, his social circle, as a service to the society as such, as a service to the nation as such, as a service to the humanity as such, and as a service to all the living beings as such. Every action becomes service for that yogi, for that spiritual aspirant. He is exemplary. He does his earthly duties to perfection, viewing them as service to the Lord. Because for this person who is aspiring for the liberation, that mumukshu, his entire, even if it is worldly task, that worldly task takes form of serving the humanity, serving the society. He is exemplary in his practice of austerity and self-control. And in subordinating the individual will to the will of the Lord, he is unreserved. He gets into that position of total surrender, the total sharanagati. And then that fellow, that spiritual aspirant, whatever he does, it is striving towards liberation. Not like the deluded man. His striving is only for the worldly enjoyments. The spiritual aspirant therefore develops the eye of wisdom as a matter of course. So what happens is, since that eye is gone, there is no more doing anything for me and mine. There is no egotism in that aspirant. So what happens? Everything, that aspirant starts seeing God everywhere. Each and every being surrounding that person is manifestation of the Lord, is manifestation of the Divine Mother. And then every act that person does is service to the Lord. The moment this attitude sets in, the eye of wisdom opens. The moment this attitude takes shape, the moment there is this paradigm shift from me and mine to his, to me and mine to my mother's, when this shift happens, then the eye of wisdom opens. And when the eye of wisdom opens, then that person gets to know that it is the gunas which are playing these tricks on this being in getting attached to the worldly temptations. The moment that eye of wisdom opens, that's the end of it. The path of liberation, we already have started walking onto it. But if that eye of wisdom doesn't open, if we still are under that garb of me and mine, we are still covered by the veil of ignorance and delusion, then there is no scope for us. Now, Sri Ramakrishna has given a very beautiful example for this happening in the life of sadhaka, for this happening, such happenings in the life of spiritual aspirants, as Sri Krishna has told us here. Sri Ramakrishna says, all water leaks away even if there be a minute hole in a water pot, the earth water pots, or even the metal pots. If there is a small pinhole, you fill the pot with water, all the water just gushes down, rushes down, seeps away. There is nothing inside the pot then, even with a minute hole. In that manner, even if there be a trace of earthly attachment in the mind of sadhaka, all his spiritual practices come to naught. In the mind of the spiritual aspirant, if there is even a minutest thought of the worldly attachment, if there is a minutest thought of me and mine, all the efforts of those practices, all that striving, it just goes off. It is of no use then. So therefore, we have to be very cautious. We have to be very attentive towards what we are striving. Are we striving as the yogis strive towards liberation, towards the knowledge and open the eye of knowledge? Or are we striving those worldly enjoyments and pleasures and getting ourselves trapped in this net of Maya, in these repeated cycles of birth and death? That is a cautionary note Sri Krishna is giving. You decide for which you want to strive. You want to strive like those yogis, or you want to strive like those yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno, that unripened, unrefined, those deluded ones. What do you want to strive? You decide and choose the path. Choose the path of that striving towards liberation or striving towards worldly enjoyment. If you strive towards liberation, the eye of wisdom is open and liberation is in your hands. If you strive for those worldly pleasures of the yatanto'pyakṛtātmāno, you don't get that, you don't see that, you don't gain that, open that eye of knowledge at all. You don't see the Chetana one which is dwelling inside. You keep on seeing only the bodily pleasures, and then that is your fate. You decide. So Sri Krishna has given us these two options, whether to go this way or that way, whether to strive like the yogis or whether to strive like the deluded ones. Decision is ours. Let us hope Sri Krishna will give us the wisdom to choose the right path, and we are on that path of yogis which strive for perfection, which strive for liberation, which strive for enlightenment, who are striving for the mukti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swamiji.